Hello and welcome to today's Leadership Satsang session. I'm your leadership coach, Yukti Kapoor Mehndiratta, thanking you for joining me yet again on another Tuesday, talking about different aspects of life and leadership. And what we're going to talk about today is, it has been something which has been like a talk of the town or talk of the leadership parlance for many, many years. And this is about our ability to become better speakers. In fact, interestingly, this viral podcast that everyone's talking about with Vijay Mallya also emphasizes on the importance of public speaking. Where at one point he was accused to be a flamboyant person, and he talks in his defense saying that, you know what, I don't know what's your understanding of flamboyant, but if that means that I have someone who has views and I'm good at expressing those views, then yes, you can call me flamboyant, but that's just my public speaking skills. What that tells me loud and clear is that to become a brand or a brand ambassador of your company, it's important for you to not just have a voice, but also know how to use it effectively to create an impact. And that's the whole essence of public speaking. So, is it a skill that people naturally have or are born with? Maybe to some extent, you can say you have a flair to speak. You're probably a little more articulate than a few others, but there are still so many things to be learned. And trust me, every single time I take people through this journey, learning journey, they are bored by the fact that there are so many nuances to public speaking. There are so many different aspects of it that can be opened up where you can go deeper and understand how to become a pro speaker. So, what I want to share with you today are 3 pro tips to speak with impact, to speak like a professional public speaker. If you would love that, give me love that in the comments, please. I would love to see some love flowing in the comments. And as you do that, let's prepare ourselves to be in this moment completely so that you can learn these 3 pro tips and take them with you, implement them in your life, for which you have to be in the moment completely 100%. And how do we do that? By chanting Om 5 times together. So are we ready? Let's have ready in the chat, please, if you're ready. Comfortably sit wherever you are. Take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. Close your eyes, please. Take another deep breath in and breathe out. And just for a moment, forget about the world. Forget about everything and everyone. Just bring your attention to your breathing, to the tip of your nose. As you breathe in and out. Quickly scan your body to see if there is any stiffness anywhere and let it go. Let's just completely be with our breath and merge with it. And as you take the next deep breath in, let's prepare to chant Om 5 times. Allow me to keep the count for you. We'll start chanting as we breathe out. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Are you ready? Put your both palms together. Gently placing them on your eyes and face and neck, shoulders, and your entire body, and come back. Let's come back to this moment. You here with me 100%. Let's have 100% in the chat, please. And as you mentioned that, please also mention the part of the world you're joining me from today. I would love to welcome you to this insightful session on how to speak like a pro. What creates a distinction between an average speaker and someone who can speak with finesse. So I don't want to talk about how to open, how to close. This is basic stuff. Right? You can read about it. You probably heard people talk about it. What I want to share with you is from the experience of talking the last 20 years on more than 10,000 plus platforms. And as I see myself growing and improving as a speaker, what are some of the reasons, some of the techniques that have helped me to create that impact is what I'm sharing with you openly, hoping that you will find it useful. And more than that, you will also be willing to bring it into action, into your practice. So if you're ready, give me ready in the chat. Give me ready in the chat as I open up these pro tips with you. Yeah, are we ready? Wonderful. Thank you. So here is the first tip. The first tip is to use silence strategically. You see, most speakers focus on what to say, but pros, they focus on when not to say, when to bring in silence. So instead of bringing in silence at the end of the message, try bringing in before you're about to say something important. For example, instead of saying, you're stronger than your circumstances and it's time to rise above them, try saying, you've gone through a lot and there is a lot that people still don't know. And yet, here you are, standing tall. This is not a weakness. This is strength. So when you take that little pause before you say something, no matter what you say, it lands very, very impactfully. Just those short and long pauses in the middle of your sentence, especially before saying something which is going to be the answer to their questions. For example, saying, you've gone through the highs and lows, but you know what? That's not your weakness. That's your strength. And that's where we create impact. Is this impactful? Give me impactful in the chat. Please give me impactful in the chat, because silence after an emotionally loaded line or a sentence gives the audience some time to reflect upon what you've said. It helps them to connect with their thoughts. And that's what converts a speech from a monologue to creating a moment, which is a game changer. And so I would love you to try this out in your space. Is this impactful? Give me impactful in the chat, please. And with that, let me share the second pro tip with you, which is to create what I call as a callback loop or an anchor, a mental anchor, where we create a repetition. First, we form a metaphor, and then we create repetition of that metaphor throughout our speech. Let me give you an example. Say you want to talk about the whole journey of life, that it's not easy, it's tough, etc. So you start by creating a metaphor like, think life like climbing a hill. Every step feels heavy until you turn around and you see how far you've come. Right? So you've created that metaphor early on, and then you continue talking whatever else. Somewhere in the middle, bring that metaphor again. You may not be at the top as yet, but as you look down, you realize where you were 5 years back, somewhere at the base. Right? So you brought that metaphor again. And then for closing, Again, bring in the metaphor. And this time you can say, the climb is hard, but every step counts. So keep climbing. You see how this is adding to the overall impact. So the recurring metaphor becomes an emotional glue. It takes people back to the same reference point. It helps you to connect the dots of your entire message. And this is what makes the message memorable. This is what will help people to take back the learning that you wish to share. Is this awesome? Give me awesome this time if you thought this metaphor anchor is super cool. Right? It's such an awesome way to plant a message into somebody's DNA, into their consciousness, because they can visualize it, they can connect with it, they relate with it. And that's the power of a speaker, to be able to understand what is relatable for their audience, isn't it? Super. Thank you for your comments. Let's look at the third and the last one for today. And that requires a little bit of homework. And I think any speaker worth their salt should do their homework. No matter how much have you spoken, at how many platforms and what magic you've created, at any point when you start taking your audience for granted is when you start going downhill. And that's something I have always kept in mind, because your audience is new every single time. So you need to show up as a new speaker, as a speaker who has curiosity to first learn about your audience, and then shape your content, your message accordingly. So the third tip is to address the real concern that your audience has and not just apply logic to what you want to say. Right? When you address the emotional question behind the topic is when you're able to make it more personal, more impactful. Let's look at an example. So instead of saying you should believe in yourself and chase your dreams, you could change that and bring in a different narrative, a different approach. Let's look at this approach. How about saying, maybe you've heard before that you should believe in yourself, but isn't there that soft whisper somewhere within that says, am I good enough? Here's what I want you to know. Even the most important, most confident, most powerful people ask themselves the same question. But the difference is they don't stop. So if you're waiting to stop feeling scared before you even begin, you'll be waiting forever. You see the difference here? What you're doing now is you're addressing their real inner doubts. Instead of giving them some advice and throwing it on their face in a way that they have heard many times, you are directly connecting with their deepest doubts and concerns. And that's what makes this message different. That's what makes it more powerful. Right? It's the same thing that you've said, but you've said it in a way that they are able to relate to it, that they're able to feel it. And here is what I strongly believe. There is nothing that you can share as knowledge which is not easily available out there, almost for free. It is the experience that you create as speakers which gives you that distinction, that honor of being called a speaker. And I also believe that every leader must develop the ability to speak with impact because your role demands it. Your role requires you to be a role model, somebody who people can look up to, somebody who needs to speak to inspire. And trust me, it is not just about your command on a language that gives you that power. It is to learn the techniques, the nuances, bringing in that ability to understand how to develop that deep connection between you and your audience. Now, let your audience be your internal stakeholders or somebody out there. It's not just about speaking from the stage that we call as public speaking. It's about speaking in public. And every time you do that, you need to do it responsibly. And with that, I mean, learn it proactively, learn it consciously. That's exactly what drove me to bring out EPSM program, Executive Public Speaking Mastery, I think about more than a year back. So we're opening the 10th batch, by the way. If you want to consider learning this consciously, I would love to invite you for this month's batch, which starts very soon in just a few days from now. If you're keen to know the details, click on the link below. But more importantly, don't assume that speaking well is the same as being an impactful speaker. There is a lot more that is required for you to create that impact. And as I see it, it's your responsibility to be able to do so as leaders. So I hope you find these 3 pro tips powerful, and I hope you find them useful enough to implement them in your real life. And if it's helped in any way, I would love to know how. If you have a favorite among these 3, bring it on. But the way I would want to recommend this is for you to run with all 3. You may want to go back to it again and again to remind yourself of it unless it becomes your habit. And once it does, it will automatically add more finesse to your ability to reach out to people with your message. Thank you so much for connecting once again and for being here Tuesday after Tuesday, week after week. It is so encouraging for me to see your participation, to see the number of people who view this message and the comments that I receive. Thank you, means a lot to me. I will see you next week with another important insight in the space of leadership and spirituality. Till then, please take very good care of yourself. Thank you so much. God bless you.